going, everyone? Session here. Welcome to a official and personal tier list for Final Fantasy XIV's Ultimates. We are now going to talk about the best ultimate ever designed, ever, DSR. All right, we're starting off extremely strong. All right, no questions asked whatsoever. Vault Knights, that's phase one. That's in S tier. I almost would put it in S plus if I could. I love that phase. It's just it's so good in every way. It sets the pacing and it's oh my god, it's so good. We gotta go watch it. It's just the best. This is probably my favorite moment ever in 14 ultimate rating like history. Oh, yo, and then they come from the sky, and then it's just like, yo, we came to play. Ooh, in there. Like, it's just the best phase because, like, listen to the music and the, yo, it's just aesthetically, it's just the best. That's it. There's no conversation or question or discussion. It's so, yo, this is the most godlike phase ever. I love it. You can never convince me otherwise because I just love the music in the background for this part is so. Yo, I'm gonna go nuts over it. If I, oh, sorry, that was really loud, but respectively, okay. Yeah, that phase is the best phase ever. It's the best phase ever. I, I only wish that that phase in that arena was like longer. You know what I mean? Man, every time I go in there and I hear like the music start and then I listen, I'm a cutscene watcher. I watch that cutscene every time I go into DSR. When I know I'm queuing in for DSR, even if it's like a reclear totem party, I'm watching the cutscene. They get mad at me every single time. Don't care. Yo, Vault Knights, what? No, that's S tier number one. I love that phase. Godlike. All right. Let me now finally calm down. I had some coffee, I had some water, I had some food. We're good now. Okay. Now we start with phase two. We got Strength of the Ward. Strength of the Ward is actually super cool because again, the music is fire and it's incredible and I love it. So for me, honestly, like phase two is a really incredible phase overall too. I love Strength of the Ward because there's so much ongoing and it's like insane that it's just again it's the aesthetic, it's the execution, it's the functionality. Like DSR is not necessarily like a super heavy puzzle based type of ultimate. It's a lot of it is like execution, and I'm a big fan of that exactly in a lot of ways when it's pulled off well. And DSR pulls it off perfectly. It's like it's hard to really talk about it. So I love Strength of the Ward like so much. So there's that. Sanctity now this is kind of where you start to like it kind of goes kind of crazy actually, because then you have you know, the Dark Knight jumps, all the cleaving with the stuff in the, you know, it's cool. It's funny because like, and then there's the eyes, there's just again there's so much going on. And then of course you got the big wall moment of like randomness, and it's the meteors. Now again, I'm honestly shocked by people that have figured out the meteors thing. It's pretty crazy actually. So big fan of it. Huge insane trio mechanic. I almost wish though, it's gonna be kind of weird. I almost wish that there was like a thing you had to do to like destroy, like, you know, there's meteors and towers falling. I almost wish there was like a mini DPS check for like a sanity thing, and that way you can preparation for like what is the transition to phase three. But honestly, Sanctity of the Ward is very good. I like it a lot as well. Nidhogg. All right, the entirety of phase three. Oh man, execution, aesthetic, design, functionality, towerness, randomness, west, east, fire. I love phase three so much. It's such a good phase. It's very insane. It's so much going on. The tower thing at the end with the buster, you know, I love that it's just like is so much. And it holds a lot of weight as well to what it was like in the Extreme Trial too. So I'm a huge fan of Nidhogg. That whole phase is fire. Like probably one of the best phases also designed. It's very chaotic and it's very insane. So really big fan of it. It's really cool. Nidhogg is fire. Then we have Eyes phase. You know, honestly, Eyes is good. I like Eyes a lot. Um, it was very interesting to me to understand how the eyes mechanic works. Now, here's the thing: I'd almost be willing, if you think about the aesthetic and the failure of the mechanic, because you don't really think about the failure, but if you think about failing the mechanic, I would almost be willing to put eyes in S tier because, okay, respectively, if you go, because remember, the DSR is a time loop type of ultimate. Like if you fail the next mechanic, they have you restart all of phase 2 and phase 3. But the thing is that you don't get the buff necessary to do eyes because it's necessary. Like you need those buffs to even do damage and everything for the eyes to get rid of it. Like aesthetically, the storytelling in DSR is like 12 out of 10. It's like it's almost like Ishikawa-san like wrote it herself. It's crazy actually. So eyes is cracked. I love eyes a lot. It's very again, if you include failing the mechanic and doing it over, it's S tier. But if you just kind of execute it without making a mistake and you do it naturally, it's an A tier phase. I love eyes a lot. It's really cool that it's what it is, and the fact that you need the Giselle and the Oshifan buff to do the thing right is interesting. And then it lets you perfectly transition into Rewind, which again also A tier mechanic. I like that. Okay, because like again, aesthetically though, I would put Rewind in S tier because of the time telling thing. Because I'm like not attentive usually. Like the first time you go up against Vault Knights, and even when you've done it like for like the sake of the first time reaction puzzleness to it, like I don't know how often you pay attention to the LB gauge because I didn't. Um, LB you could not LB3 in phase 1. Like you can't even, you can LB2, but to gain LB2 is not like a possibility. So I didn't understand the first time I went through DSR that like you needed to acquire LB3 to save Oshifar. Like I didn't know that. So, and you don't even generate enough gauge to begin with, but if there was some kind of way that you could do it, then even then it wouldn't save him, and I didn't realize that. So like Rewind, the fact that it's tied in to this first phase, it and how it works, it puts it, I would put it in S tier. But again, that's like, oh man, I'm so torn on it, honestly. I can't decide. You know what? F it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna put it in S. I think Rewind is fire. I like that I like that part of the puzzle literally requires you to save Oshifan. Like I think that's actually so that's so that's just so cool by design concept, you know? So like I said, they ate they ate this ultimate up. This was one of the best designed and story told ultimates I've ever experienced. I'm absolutely like in love with it. So Rewind was fire. Then there's the phase 5 thing, and we got Wrath of the Heavens. Ooh, is okay. You know, very good. Honestly, like standard kind of trio mechanic. You know, everyone's got to go do a thing. There's like a where you get goes where, and you got to execute it. And then there's twisters again. You know, like again, big fan of it. It's awesome, and I like that once again the way you organize and do stuff is very cool. Part of me almost wishes that there was a way to uptime something, but Thoradin is the target in phase 5. It's not any of the other knights. So the fact that there's no DPSing at all during Wrath is like a little bit like a okay, like whatever moment, like you know, whatever. But like I would have liked for there to have been an opportunity to target something during it. But even still though, still very fun and very insane chaotic trios mechanic for what it's worth. So absolutely still love Wrath of the Heavens. Again, I just wish it was like a you know, something extra, a little bit more of an oomph to it. Then there's Death of the Heavens, and again, it requires I love Death of the Heavens a lot because the lineup for the warrior to get dooms versus cleanses. I don't. The only thing I don't like about Death of the Heavens is the fact that you can, again, you can kind of cheese it. You know, because farthest targeted people get circles, and it's always purposeful. It's deliberate. It's easy actually, so it kind of sucks. But otherwise, like the figuring out who has to go where, pre-position before the dash push, and then the eyes mechanic, all that stuff too. Avoid chains, break those, and then you got to destroy all these meteors. I love that. Now I need to get confirmation from somebody who knows this better than I do, because I don't. I cleared DSR as a caster. I was told that I had to LB2 the North Meteors as a caster. I understand that, and I didn't disagree. I'm just asking the simple question of, is it possible if you don't have a caster? Like, let's say you want to try to run it with 2 melee. Even if you do that, though, kind of dumb. But either way, we'll digress. Or like or 4 melees, you know, some kind of weird party. Is it possible to clear all those meteors without needing to use LB2 for range or caster? You know, that's my question. If it's possible, then it would actually keep it in S tier as a result. Not that having to LB2 it as a caster or range puts it in A tier, but I'm heavily under the impression with the right party composition, because it probably requires the correct composition. If it is possible to do the meteors part of Death of the Heavens with just people pumping DPS, I think that would be really, really, really cool. If possible. I have never tried it, and I've never been in a party to experiment with trying it, but if it is possible, then that would be really, really cool. If not, though, it's still fine. Like, it's not like an issue that you can't, like, not use it, but, you know, because again, it's kind of universal that you have to, but if it's possible to not use it, then I would love to know if that is a possibility. So, but either way, doesn't matter. Death of the Heavens, incredible. Also, the end, you know, again, same thing. The fact that there's another opportunity where, like, if you fail Thornton, you know what I mean? The fact that you actually have the opportunity to, like, restart because of not, like, you have to spare him. I love that so much, because it's like the weirdest puzzle. It's not even like a puzzle. It's just kind of like a moment. You got to remember that, like, oh, you got to spare him, like, spare him some mercy, and then he gets mad at you for that, and then he's like, you know what? I'll be back. I think that's also so sick. I love that that's exactly what that is. It's probably one of my favorite things as well, design-wise, for that phase of the fight. So honestly, phase 5 is in its entirety. They could have just combined phase 5 together, and I probably would have still put it in S tier. But since they did separate Death and Wrath, I do love Death. Death does carry Wrath, but Wrath is also still pretty good. So pretty big fan of it overall. Man, then we have the double dragon. You know what? This ultimate has so much going for it the entire time. It's actually really insane. Because, okay, I'll give you some kind of insight. The first time I went through DSR, even though I knew that there were 7 phases and I was progging it on contents, I never understood that P6 was both dragons. I didn't. Even though I was in a group and they were practicing phase 6, and don't get me wrong, I studied for phase 6 as well. But what I wasn't aware of or thinking of was like who it was, like boss wise. I didn't know. So when we went into phase 6 for the very first time ever, I was like, oh, it's like eyes again or something. And even though the stinking box thing, the plan literally says like, oh, 2 more monsters appear, and it's Nidhogg and Harris Felgar. I literally didn't read that part. I just looked for the part where it tells me what to do and where to go with my tether. So the first time I went to P6, I was like mind blown. I was like, oh, it's the dragons? It was crazy, actually. So I loved that moment. I might be a little biased for that, though, because the fact that I didn't know it was both dragons was crazy to me. And even still, it doesn't take away the fact that I love phase 6. It's very insane that, like, you you have to do so much to figure it out. And again, that fight requires just like execution. Okay, execution to the max. Actually, so insane. Um, I loved that phase so much. It was stressful. It was crazy. It was intense. Even if it was organized, it still has so much opportunity of like paying attention to what you get to do. I love it without question. So I'm a huge fan of Double Dragon as well. Very fire mechanic, very phase heavy, intensive. The whole phase is intensive, you know. And the fact that there's still opportunities like where, because here's the thing, if you go through like the first three ultimates, like there's not like a lot of moments where like, because now that I play tank, I didn't play tank in DSR, but I've experienced like the visual of what it's like to tank. Um, you need to know how to actually utilize mitigation appropriately as a tank in that phase. Did not think that you had to, but you have to, and I really appreciate that because there's not really like a lot of moments where spacing out cooldowns just for yourself, not even for your co-tank, is like a necessity. Like, you know, like in Nail, if you wanted to, you can hold on to Nail the whole time if you like know how to do it, you know what I mean? And get some support from your like co-tank. I like to swap with Nail, for example. And again, like same thing like with Titan. Like Titan is not like a, if you actually have like a correct party team in it sort of thing, like you can solo Titan also. I'm not like a, again, not like a big fan of that, but it's like it's fine. But with Double Dragon, like you can't do that. Like both tanks have to deal with stuff by themselves and also with each other. I'm a really huge fan of the fact that that's something that happens in there. And also, you gotta pass around like a debuff the whole time too, just to avoid pissing off one or both dragons. I love everything that mechanic phase has to offer. And then of course you got the one like murder phase of like raw flames. The fact that you have to execute that like near perfect just to avoid killing and wiping everyone is, again, like in my opinion, like one of the bigger walls that this game showcases. Death of the Heavens is definitely like is a wall as well. Double Dragon, that whole phase is a wall. And I would even argue like Nidhogg being like the first wall. And I mean, honestly, Nidhogg is the first wall. The next wall is probably Eyes, and then it's Death, and then it's Double Dragon, and that's it, you know. So that's kind of where my mindset's at personally. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't take away the fact that, like, bro, I love Double Dragon. It's freaking incredible phase. There's nothing I would add or change to it. Yeah, no, I don't think that there's anything. I'm chilling. I'm a big fan. Again, biased, but I'm a big fan of Double Dragon. So incredible phase overall. I can rant about it for hours, just as much as the first phase. And then last we have DKT, Dragon King Thornton. You know, it's funny because the fact that he has the ultimate end, oh sorry, the alternative end, right, as like a move that he activates to do his thing, man. And again, Exaflares, dude, you would not think that Exaflares was like lethal in certain case scenarios, but hilariously enough, it is way crazier than Golden. Like, it's insane actually. And also on top of that too, see, what I like about DKT is that even if there's only like what, there's the flares, there's the Morn, the Akmorn thing, and then there's the Giga Flare. Oh my gosh, it even with that, like, with, to combine all that with the ice and fire, like, you will still die if not appropriately like done, you know, or anything like that. It's just crazy actually. So honestly, that whole phase is crazy. I wish, not that, again, I would like for them to somehow find a time and way to go back and do old ultimate changes, something of the nature. But Golden Bahamut needs exactly what Dark Knight, Dragon King Thornton has. Not Dark Knight, but, you know, where everybody is responsible for a thing on top of like their typical job. Because like even with Dragon King, like you still gotta, you know, be playing DPS. Besides like DPS and bursting, you still gotta apply feints. You have to eat an auto to keep your tanks alive. Like, I love that. That doesn't exist in the golden phase. And same thing with like avoiding like an in and out, right? Like, it's like you got big stack, you got tank buster stuff, and then you got flares. Like, that's it. DKT has so much more than just those things, even though they have those same things. Again, huge fan of that as well. So I absolutely love Dragon King Third One as well. It's just like the whole honest fight as in its entirety is S tier. Like it's honestly the best designed ultimate ever created. Absolutely in love with it. There's nothing I would change for that fight except for just more Vault Knight. Just give me more phase one because here's the thing. Here's the actually you know what? It's not true. Hold on. I can actually digress. If I had the option, I would actually tell you that I would have liked for you to restart at phase one, if it was possible, but it's not, right? Like phase one is a checkpoint, and then they have you start at phase two, and then you go from there. That's cool because like phase one is like a check, right? It's like, oh, like, if you can't clear phase one, then like you're like not ready for ultimates. Is what that phase is about, and I'm cool with that. They should do that a little bit more often than normal, but I'm a really big fan of that first phase, and it kind of sucks that we never do it again after you clear it like the first time, you know, because then from there you start from phase two and then go all the way over. But I would have liked for Vault Knight to be like a permanent phase one, but it's not technically, right? So that's the only real thing I would change. But also the other change I would apply, because it's only like a one phase that you see for like it's like a 2.5-minute phase sort of thing. I would have actually made the fight longer. I would have made phase one even longer because it's like a one-time checkpoint, like can you do it or not sort of thing. I would have done something like that, but again, it's still my favorite phase ever. I love DSR, so that's where my mindset's at. But yeah, overall though, S plus ultimate fire, incredible, goated, everything that you can possibly think of. It's incredible. I love this fight. So yeah, there's my there's the tier list, and then lastly we have what is probably another insanely good but also much controversial ultimate, top. So we'll talk about that in the next one. So thank you for watching and tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.